श्री राधा दामोदर भगवान की जय, जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Yeah, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Hare Krishna to all the devotees of Central New Jersey. Thank you so much for having me on your Sunday program. We are culminating this with our Sunday program here in Vizag. Hare Krishna. So my humble obeisances to all the devotees at New Jersey. Vancha kalpataru bhayascha kripa sindhuveva cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo nam ananta koti vaishnavind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, apne apne Gurudev ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So, feeling very glad to have all of your association on this auspicious Kartik Damodar month. The most precious thing in this world is to have the association of devotees. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to have your all association. Today we're going to speak on a very, very interesting topic. So we have decided that we are going to discuss on how to become Krishna's favorite devotee. How are we going to become Krishna's favorite devotee? I don't know why, but I'm getting muted again and again. You have to fix it up. Okay. Okay, fine. Hare Krishna. So we decided that we are going to discuss today on how to become Krishna's favorite devotee. How many of you want to become Krishna's favorite devotees? You want to become Krishna's favorite devotees. We all want to become Krishna's favorite devotee. So how do we become Krishna's favorite devotee? We are all trying to become devotee, but what we are going to discuss today is how to become a favorite devotee. Okay? So, Krishna himself reveals this secret, that how can you become his favorite devotee, right? See, the whole point that we are here in ISKCON, the whole point that we are here in this world trying to do this devotional service and all, the whole goal of our life is to please Krishna, right? We want to please Krishna. When you love somebody, when you like somebody, when you want to please somebody, then what do? You try to bring in those qualities which that person likes or appreciates, right? And then you can have a relationship with that person. So just like in every Bollywood movie, there is a triangle love story. The hero loves the heroine loves somebody else. Here is also a triangle story in our life. We love Krishna, but Krishna says that he loves somebody else. And who is that somebody else? Krishna says he loves his pure devotees. And we are in the journey of becoming that pure devotee. So we love Krishna and Krishna loves his pure devotees. So we want to become a pure devotee of Krishna. And how do we become a pure devotee of Krishna? Krishna himself revealed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12. Which we are reciting every day in the morning during this Kartik month. So Krishna has given around 36 qualities in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita from verse number 13 to verse number 20. These are around 8 verses. So just like we recite Shikshashtakam, right? We recite Guru Vashtakam. This is Bhaktashtakam, where Krishna is revealing that what are the qualities that he likes in his devotees. And all through these 8 verses of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will keep saying, he will say, Yo mad bhakta same priyaha. This kind of devotee I like very much. This kind of devotee is very dear to me. And we all want to become dear to Krishna. And in all these 8 verses, he's talking about who can become his dear devotee. So today we will discuss, in whatever time we have, I don't know how many qualities we can complete, but what are those 36 qualities that Krishna wants in his pure devotees, and how do we imbibe them in our lives, right? As we discuss further in this topic today, we can have a small check box, write down those qualities and keep ticking. How many of those qualities we already have or we are in the process of developing? These qualities are also like, they are present in four stages or 4 different phases. See, there are some qualities which you may like, you hear them, you like them, you appreciate them, but you're not so keen about following them because you feel it's way beyond your capacity, right? So they are present in Ichha Roop. You desire, you like them, you say the class is very good, got knowledge about all the 36 qualities, very nice, so Mahaprasade, Govinde, come on, let's have prasadam and go. It was a nice Sunday program. So that is Ichha Roop. Okay, someday I'll develop that quality. Some other qualities are an Abhyasa Rupa. That means not only Ichha, you are actually working on it. You want to achieve them or you want to train yourself into those qualities. They are in Abhyasa Rupa. You are trying your best. Some qualities are on the face of a Siddha Rupa. Siddha Rupa means sometimes during favorable situations you are actually able to imbibe those qualities in you, but during the unfavorable situations you get a little this way, that way. So these are in Siddha Rupa, not always constant, sometimes up, sometimes down. And then there are some qualities which are there in us in Sthira Rupa. Sthira means constantly they are there. For example, let's say as ISKCON devotees, no matter what situation happens in our life, we will never eat meat, for sure. So that we are not good. That's in Thira Rupa. No matter what situation comes, we don't go that low. But then there are some qualities which sometimes, like for example, we are very sweet with everybody, we are very forgiving with everybody, but then if somebody gets on our wrong side, then we show our Narasimha Rupam. So that means those qualities are not Sthira Rupa. Sometimes you are good, but sometimes you go down. So as we discuss these 36 qualities, we just check in which stage are these qualities, because we love Krishna. And Krishna says that he loves them who has these qualities. So we're really serious about getting these qualities in our life, right? See, in every affair, whether it's our affair with Krishna or any mundane affair also, you see everything goes in 4 stages. When you meet somebody, the first thing is you are attracted towards a person. Then you have affection towards the person, you have attachment, and then the association of that person gives you joy. And then at some stage you just surrender to the person. Similar thing happens in our devotional life also. In the beginning, when we come into Krishna consciousness, it is attractive. It's nice, you like it. You like to come to the temple. But you also like to go to a movie, and you also like to go to a park, and you also like to go for shopping, and everything gives you pleasure. But then after some time, it's not only attraction, there's a kind of an affection, you become a little serious, you want to render some service. And after some time, it's not only attraction, not only affection, there is a lot of attachment and joy. That means now, you not only like it, you like it more than anything else, and you are ready to give up the other thing just to be in the temple, just to be in the association of devotees. You just want to be there. And then the love goes a little more beyond, where it's not just about changing your dress from pant shirt to dhoti kurta and wearing kanthi and tilak, but there is something which is happening inside your heart. You want to surrender to Krishna. You want to love him. You want to become the way he wants you to become. You want to think the way he wants you to think. You want to listen, talk, hear, everything surrounding him, right? So these are the different stages a devotee passes through. So today we will discuss all these 36 qualities. Actually, 36 is a very sweet number also. In India, when a man and woman, they get married, they mix, they match horoscope. And they say, ideally, if the 36 qualities between a man and a woman matches, then the marriage is made in heaven. But of course, rarely 36 qualities match. At most, around 17 or 18 qualities match, but they still consider it to be very great. So if we want to marry Krishna, in the sense we want to be a devotee of Krishna, then 36 qualities which Krishna has laid down between him and us, and if we can somehow pass it, then we can go back home, back to Godhead. Because when we want to enter the arena of Krishna, then we need to be on a certain level, right? See, even in a normal mundane party also, if you go, they have a theme party, you have to wear a particular dress, only then you are allowed inside, right? If they say today's theme is black and white, everybody has to wear black and white. So imagine we are entering the arena of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. These are the qualities he has laid down, and these qualities a devotee has, he likes them. He says, Yomad Bhakta Same Priyaha. I like that devotee who has these qualities. So we will read this particular sloka from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12. And this is Bhakti Yoga, and this sloka from 13 to 20. So we'll try to read the sloka number 13. And then let's see how many we can complete today. You can take out your Bhagavad Gitas. Okay. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna eva cha nirmamo nirahankara sama dukkha sukhashami santushta satatam yogi yatatmam drida nischayah mayyarpita mano buddhir yo mad bhakta same priyaha. One who is not envious but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself as a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, he is very dear to me. Krishna says, Adveshta sarva bhutanam. So Adveshta sarva bhutanam. Adveshta. Here the translation is given. Adveshta means one who is non-envious. So Krishna is simply saying that those who are non-envious, that kind of devotee is very dear to Krishna. So how many of us are non-envious? So the hand doesn't go up. It's difficult. Yeah, because it's difficult, right? But Krishna says if you are non-envious, so how do we become non-envious? Actually, why are we envious? Where does this envy come from? Where does this irsha, envy comes from? Where does this envy comes from? It comes from lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge, tattva darshan, right? Why are you envious of somebody? Because you don't have knowledge. Why? See, dvesha also has many other meanings. Dvesha also means to hate somebody. Dvesha also means to be envious. Dvesha also means to be angry, right? So these are so many meanings of dvesha in Sanskrit. So how does this dvesha come from? Where does this dvesha come from? This dvesha comes from lack of knowledge, tattva darshan. Lack of knowledge. What is the lack of knowledge? Because we're not reading scriptures. We don't know that whatever is happening in our life is my karma, my fault. We're not convinced about this. That is why we are always envious or angry, or we get upset about people around us because we think they are the cause of our distress. They are the cause of our problem. Is it not? So basically this enviousness is coming out of lack of knowledge. Enviousness is coming out of mithya manyata. Mithya manyata means wrong assumptions. Wrong assumptions. You have a wrong assumption. This person is making a problem in my life. Because of him, I am suffering. If he would not have come late today to the program, everything would have been fine. So we are not convinced that everything is predestined. We are not convinced that everything is happening according to karma. We are not convinced that everything that happens in our life has three causes. There is an immediate cause, there is an real cause, and there is an ultimate cause. There may be some immediate cause which happens because of the event. There may be there is a real cause which is our previous life karma, and there is the ultimate sanction which is of Lord Krishna. And if we are in knowledge of this, all three things working and three things attached to every event that is happening in our life, then we won't have dvesha on anybody, because we know it's all happening because of our own self. We are the reason for it, right? So because of lack of knowledge and wrong assumptions, we get dvesha on others, right? But whatever dvesha that we are seeing in ourselves is just tip of the iceberg, just 1/10 of it. There is actually so much which is, below. So the underlying cause, the secret cause why we are envious is because we are not connected to Krishna just now. Because we are not connected to Krishna. The whole problem arises because we are not connected to Krishna. If we remain connected to Krishna, then we will not be envious of anybody. The anger, the envy, the cause is something else. This is something like, let's say if the water is boiling and I ask you, why is the water boiling? And you will say, Mataji, water is boiling because, you just entered the kitchen. Water is boiling because you just put on this tube light. Now that will be foolish. The water is boiling because it is kept on the top of a flame. It is as simple as that it is. So you are getting envious because you're not connected to Krishna. But you may try to say, no, I'm just getting angered because he is behaving like that. And I am envious because he is like that. But no, the problem is the water is getting boiled because there is a flame underneath. So we getting envious because we are not connected to Krishna just now. We are not connected to Krishna just now. When somebody is connected to Krishna, nothing affects you, right? Many times I give these examples to the devotees. Imagine you are with your headphones, with your earphones, and you are hearing some music on your phone. And then I just come and just say something to you, or you swear words. You will still smile because you can't hear what I'm saying. You may just hear I'm just saying, Deepak Prabhu, you're so stupid, that you're just crazy. But you don't know because, you are with your headphones, So what's happening, it doesn't care what I'm saying because you are connected just now. You're hearing something else, right? So imagine to a devotee who is strongly connected to Krishna, right? Because we are not connected to Krishna. If we are connected to Krishna, let's say you are hearing some music, you don't care what's happening. Let's say a cashier in a bank. Sometimes he's just counting his money, he's counting his Lakshmi. Then what happens? Even if somebody is speaking something, he's not bothered because his mind is on his counting of money. And after some time, he'll say, did you say something? Were you talking to me? This is what happens when you are connected to Krishna. When you are connected to Krishna. See, very simple. I'll give you a normal example. Let's say you went to the office and your boss was very harsh to you. And then you come back home and you will take it out completely on your wife, Poor thing, she made the same sabji yesterday also, but today you will say, it's awful, it's not tasting good. And why did you do this? Why are you making so much noise? Why is the house dirty? Why did you come late? Now, everything is seeming, you're disturbed by everything that you see because actually you are disturbed inside because that fellow in your office said something to you. Did you get my point? So that is what is happening basically. We are not connected to Krishna. That is why we use this blame game and blame people outside. But Krishna says, Adveshta. I like the devotee who is adveshta, who is non-envious, right? So, when we are in good mood, we reflect good mood, right? You have a bonus in your office, you have a salary raise, you'll come home, you'll speak nicely with everybody, right? Even your children will understand something has happened today, daddy is in such a good mood. Dad, can you recharge my phone for 200 rupees? Why 200? Get it for 500. Jio has a nice scheme. And you are wondering what happened to the old man is so nice to me. That means what we understand is it's not the outside, there is something inside going on which affects your outside, right? So that means when we are connected to Krishna, then we see everything with a different glasses, right? So now, how do we be connected to Krishna? How do we be non-envious of people? What is the solution? One thing is introspection. Definitely, we have to work on it. We have to, introspect, because sometimes what happens, we are so good at, chanting our rounds and doing our sadhana and all, but we are not concentrating and we are not working on our report card of enviousness, because the problem is we never came from Goloka Vrindavan to this world because we were not chanting our rounds properly. It's not that Krishna said, Srinivas Keshav Prabhu, you're not chanting your 16 rounds properly, so can you just go to the material world? I'm vexed up with you. I don't want to see you in Goloka anymore because you're not chanting your rounds properly. No, he didn't push us from there because we were not chanting properly. We came out from there because we were envious. But now we're working on our rounds, we're working on other things, but we're not working on the report card of our enviousness. So where are we? Where do we stand? We really need to, work on it. See, if you just push things in the back, after some time it's going to smell. Especially Diwali. There's some ladies will do a thorough job of cleaning, and then there may be some working ladies who can't do a great job of cleaning, but the moment the guests come, they will simply try to somehow put things in the backyard, So imagine you just have a dead rat and you don't have time to clean it, and you just put the dead rat in the attic. Now what will happen? You can make a show of a very clean house, yeah, but after some time it'll smell because the rat is dead and it's going to smell. So yeah, we can make a very good show. We can wear really nice dhoti, kurta, nice tilak, nice kanti. We can really make a good show of, but after some time it'll smell. See, the smell of envy is such, The smell of dvesha is such, even we don't realize. Sometimes, what happens when we have constipation or some health problem, we smell. But we don't realize we smell. The person sitting next to us can understand that there is some smell coming. Is it not? Same thing happens with this. We don't even understand we are smelling. People around us can understand that this person is smelling of envy, right? Smelling of envy. This person is having dvesha, right? So we need to clean it, because after some time what will happen, we'll even forget where did we put this dead rat. Somewhere we have put it, right? Because the mind also has so many layers, right? Many times I've spoken about the 7 layers of mind. Somewhere we pushed it inside. And then we don't understand, why am I getting this kind of a feeling? Where is it coming from? But it is your previous things which you have pushed aside. You haven't cleaned them, right? So we need to work on this 36 qualities. We need to work on that, Where are we? These qualities are present in us in what stage, what phase, and what do we do about them, right? So how do we give up dvesha? We can give up dvesha if we become a mother. Now you'll say, what does that have to do about giving up dvesha, becoming a mother? Yes, if you become a mother of everybody in this world, then you won't have any dvesha. See, just now, there's some children making noise as this class is going on, right? Many times I give this example. Now the child is making noise. Now the mother of that child, she has a different thinking in her mind. She will think in her mind, it's all right if children make noise. That's the nature of children. How long can I control? That's all right. That's what the mother thinks. But the other ladies who have grown up children, they will have a different thinking. They will say, how come this mother, she should teach some discipline to the children, They're coming for a public program. Everybody is getting disturbed. She should control the child. Why is the child making noise? Now what happens? When you become a mother, you're always protective about your child. Am I right? You're not critical about your child, right? Let's say your child is playing in the neighborhood playground and he's having a running nose. As a mother, you don't show sympathy. You do action. You will not say, bichara, he's having running nose, so sad. No, you don't do that. You just go and clean it. That's it. You just take a napkin and clean it. The neighbors will show sympathy. Not only sympathy, the neighbors may criticize also. Nowadays, this lady keeps going for ISKCON program, doesn't take care of the children properly. See how the running nose, the child is not taken care properly. All the time she's listening to lectures and bhajan and japa. So that is a difference. When you become a mother, you become so protective. That means if we become a mother of, let's say, everybody in this world, then we'll become so protective. We won't be envious of that person. Even if that person has a fault, we'll try to help the person. Not sympathy. Not sympathy, that devotee has a problem. You are in action. You want to help the devotee out, right? So how can you become advesha? When you have that motherly feeling of love and affection for everybody. If you think everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna, then you have no enviousness. All right. Deepak Prabhu, are you envious of your hand? No, never. Are you envious of your nose? Envious of your ears? No. He's not envious because that is part of his body. So when we have a feeling that we are all part of Krishna, then we can't be envious of anybody. Because we know he's also part of Krishna and I'm also part of Krishna and he's also part of Krishna. Right? So advesha, if we want to become... No, that doesn't mean that you don't correct a person, but you know that the person is... You're not critical about the person. You want to help the person, right? See, after the Sunday feast, you all go for washing hands. Yeah? So when your hands become dirty, what do you do when your hand becomes dirty, Kanha? Oh, see, so smart. He said, my hands become dirty, I wash it. Do you cut it? Well, my hand is dirty, let me cut it. You don't, you're laughing. You don't cut it. If everybody is a part of you, right? If you just feel everybody is part of Krishna and we are all part of Krishna, then you don't want to, you don't want to disturb others or you don't want to hurt others because they are all part of Krishna. You want to help clean them, but you don't want to hurt them. You're getting my point? So that means, yes, we can become advesha if we think we are part and parcel of Krishna. If we read scriptures, we get connected to Krishna. The moment we get envy, we should keep this thing in our mind that I'm not connected to Krishna just now. That is why I'm feeling envious. Got my point? It sounds a little difficult because sometimes I feel if Krishna would have said, if you give every month 1 lakh rupees donation, then you can come back to Goloka Vrindavan. It would have been so easy. So easy. Just Just work hard, earn some money, this many dollars, and I'm done with it. If Krishna would have said, no, if you just chant 30 rounds, then you can come back to me. That would have also, we would somehow make it, If Krishna would have said, okay, if you do this yagya, you can come back to me. That would be so easy. But Krishna says, no. Adveshta sarva bhutana maitra karuna evacha nirmama nirahankara. All this he wants in us. Then only we can become his dear devotee. So yeah, it sounds difficult. But then if you want to become a dear friend of a VVVVIP, then you really need to work hard. It's not going to come so easy. So Adveshta. When we become rich with Krishna's love, then the other things don't bother. Right? See, nowadays, you go to any shopping mall, any shopping complex, they have this coupon system. You buy something, and if you have the lucky draw, and you win something. Now imagine you've gone to a shopping mall, made a couple of purchases, and then you get a phone call. You have won a lucky draw just now. You are the winner, and you get $5 coupon free. What would be your reaction? I don't care. $5 is too small for a millionaire. Is it not? He doesn't care. Same thing happens to us. When we are rich with Krishna's love, and if then somebody comes and criticizes you or says something bad about you, you don't care because you're so rich. This little withdrawal doesn't make a difference. You understand my point? See, why do we have problem with people? Let's say they get on our wrong side. It's just that there's so many deposits people make in our life, and there are sometimes they will make some withdrawal. But if you have a lot of money in the bank, you're not bothered about those withdrawals. But if you don't have money, then withdrawal becomes a problem. So if you are rich with Krishna's love, or sometimes somebody makes a little withdrawal, it doesn't matter. Am I making sense? Are you able to understand? So we go to the next quality, Adveshta. Then Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam Maitra. Okay, so Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. So this Advesha is not for one person, it's not for two person, it's for Sarva Bhutanam. For everybody you have to have that feeling. Now if you have that feeling for everybody, Advesha, then it naturally brings you to the second quality, Maitri. If you don't have Dvesha, then you will have love. If you don't have Dvesha for everybody, then you will have affection. So very simple. So if you are Advesha, then you will have Maitri. Now what is Maitri? Maitri means friendliness. Sometimes people confuse friendship with friendliness. Here I'm not talking about friendship. I'm talking about friendliness. Because friendship means, again, that also has some selfish motive or some kind of a tinge of selfishness. Why? Because even the Shastras say that the friendship happens between whom? Samana Shila, Vyasana. If you have a Samana Shila, same kind of a character, Vyasana, you have a same kind of a habit, same kind of a like, same kind of a dislikes, then you become Sakhyam. You have a friendship. But here Krishna is not talking about friendship. He's talking about friendliness. That means he likes a devotee who is friendly with everybody. So being friendly means to love everybody unconditionally. See, let's say today I like this particular Mataji because she sings very well. So now if my liking is based on her singing, then when she doesn't sing well, I won't like her anymore. I like this Mataji because she cooks very well. That means tomorrow if she doesn't cook well, I don't like her anymore because my liking is based on a particular reason. But here we are talking about not a particular reason. We are saying friendliness means friendship, means being friendly with everybody without condition. Right? That means you just like everybody in this world. Now, it's lofty. It's lofty, right? How do you like everybody? There may be some problem with this person, some problem with this devotee. But then I say again, if you want to be Krishna's dear, see, whenever you find it difficult, then you should just remember this. Yomad bhakta same priyaha. I want to be Krishna's dear devotee. And if I want to be Krishna's dear devotee, Krishna wants me to be Adveshta. Krishna wants to be Maitri. Right? Our Maitri is so conditional. I remember many years ago, in 1997, when we got newly married, we were on a tour of Europe. I think we had some Eurorail passes or something like that, and we were traveling to many countries. So we were traveling from Frankfurt to Paris. Now, last 1 month we had been traveling, and I was badly missing India and Indian devotees. And somehow, luckily, on that train from Frankfurt to Paris, an Indian couple climbed with us in the same compartment. And coincidentally, they were from Gujarat, Ahmedabad. So you could have imagined what must be my reaction, my Guju Bhai, and the Guju. I was like so happy, and I'm talking to them. This was in '97, and then they had khakra. Now you won't understand what is a khakra. Only a Gujarati can understand what is a khakra, thepla, and a Gujarati can trade their heart in exchange of a khakra and thepla and dhebra. So I was very happy, and then when they left, then Prabhuji was telling me that I'm taking you halfway across the world and I don't get that smile what your Guju Bhais get, You're so happy, such a big smile. And I said, yeah, because, Gujaratis, I feel so happy. Of course, after some time, it changed. Now it's no more about Gujarati and Telugu. Now it's like, the moment you see some devotee with a tilak, you're like, family. Is it not? All of us have that feeling. No matter where we are in any part of the world, we see somebody with tilak, we are like, wow, my people. But no, we don't stop there. Krishna is saying Maitri for everybody. That means it's not that when we see somebody with tilak, we feel happy. When we see just about anybody, we feel happy. That means we should consider everybody to be part and parcel of Krishna. You understand? So that level we have to bring ourselves. That means even non-devotees, even just about anybody, anybody we see. How will we get that feeling, Mataji? Oh my God, that's like difficult. I'll tell you simply. When you look at yourself in the mirror, see, sometimes you see the monkeys of Vrindavan. When the monkey looks at himself in the mirror, you know what monkey does? What does the monkey do? It will attack the mirror because the monkey will not understand that it is its reflection. The monkey will think it is somebody else and he'll try to attack him. But as a human being, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do? Kanha? You attack yourself? Oh, why will I do it? I just look at how handsome I am. Now, the thing is, because you are a human being, you can understand it's me, right? That's all we need to do. When we look at somebody, just don't look like an animal. He's my enemy. You just look at him as if it's you. That means you look at him as if he's also part and parcel of Krishna, and I'm also part and parcel of Krishna. Right? So you see, right? We're all part and parcel of Krishna. Then you can love the person. Right? So Maitri, we have to be friendly with everybody. Sometimes I see, devotees, some of them have such a kind of a, the face equation, as if, the moment you talk to them, they're going to feel interrupted. You feel afraid to talk to them. No, as a devotee, we are joyful. We radiate energy, we radiate joy, we radiate happiness, right? When person talks to us, they should feel, I'm refreshed, It should not be, I'm stressed, It's not like that, right? Devotee means Maitri. He's happy and he makes people around him happy. He's friendly to everybody, right? So I'll tell you, there was one very rich man and he got a beautiful daughter-in-law, okay? And the daughter-in-law was very obedient, very nice, but they were very unhappy with her. So they were coming and complaining, we're so unhappy with our daughter-in-law. So I said, what is the problem? She fights? No, Mataji. She just doesn't fight. So nice to me. Oh, she gives back answer? No. She's disrespectful? No. What is the problem? No, she doesn't mix with us. She doesn't smile. She doesn't talk. She doesn't share her heart. She doesn't join us on family lunch or breakfast or on table. She's so indifferent. So now, any of you here, would you like to associate with a person who is indifferent? No, you want to associate with a person who is, who talks to you, shares hearts, smiling, happy, Krishna also likes that kind of devotee. He doesn't want, people in Goloka Vrindavan with long faces, as if, some kind of, why? Why can't we just be happy, as devotees? Why those long drawn faces? Maitri. Okay, now, don't confuse friendliness with friendship, and don't confuse with prajalpa. I don't mean to say that, from tomorrow, just about any devotee you meet, you'll start talking, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, how are you? Mataji told me to talk to everybody. So, how are you? From which place you came? No, I'm not talking about, I'm not saying that you start doing prajalpa from tomorrow. Just be friendly, just be friendly. Just talk to, be nice to everybody, and, be smiling, that's like that. So love everybody is what I'm trying to say. See, a girl and a boy, they had an affair which was going for a long time. So now the girl said, look, we're having this affair for a long time. Now it's time we get married, So the boy said, look, as long as we have an affair, it's only me coming and meeting you privately, everything is okay. But if you want to marry me, then it's a little trouble. Because you see, I have a father who is bedridden. I have a mother who has some psychological problem. I have a sister who is handicapped. I have a brother. See, this is my family. So if you marry me, then you have to accept my whole family. If that is okay with you, we can get married. So the girl says, that's all right. I accept your whole family. Then the boy is like, girl is so happy. And the boy is so happy, and then they get married. Now the same thing applies between us and Krishna. We have an affair with Krishna as of now. We like him and he likes us. But if you want to get married to Krishna, if you want to get our relationship with the Krishna a little more deeper, then Krishna tells, look, if you want to get married to me, my family consists of so many people. There may be some angry Vaishnavas, some very talkative Vaishnavas, some very arrogant Vaishnavas, some very humble Vaishnavas, some abhaktas, some sinful. My family is very big, all sorts of people. Do you accept my family? Then you can get married to me. It's as simple as that. If we love Krishna, then we accept his whole family. So in that whole family, there is everybody, and we love everybody. And if you don't love even one single person in Krishna's family, then you can't get married to him. You can't go to Goloka Vrindavan. You got my point? That means we need to love everybody, the whole creation of Krishna, because everything is part and parcel of Krishna. So then what to do? What's the exercise? Just we sit and make a list of all those devotees whom we don't like. There's we may not like some devotees' eating style. We may not like some devotees' talking style. We may not like some, there may be, we need to make a list of it. And then we need to start working on that, Because those devotees whom we say we don't like, they have the key of our door to Goloka Vrindavan. So we need to, learn to love everybody. Then Krishna becomes very happy with us. Maitra, right? Now, somebody may say, Mataji, I'm really trying to be Maitra, friendly with everybody. But that person, what he did last year, what he did with my family. I can forgive everybody, Mataji, everybody. But only that devotee I can't forgive, because this is what he did. Now look, in the vocabulary of devotees, there is nothing called tit for tat. There's nothing called tit for tat is for samsari. Samsari, people in the material world. Yeah, those who want to stay back in the material world, you can do tit for tat. You can continually do tit for tat. Not only this life, you can go on doing it life after life, because you will do something, that devotee will say something, then you will take a revenge, and you can go on. But no, if you're in a hurry to go back to Goloka Vrindavan, then tit for tat doesn't work for you. You get my point? Tit for tat doesn't work for you. Anirudh is there behind if you have a problem. Yeah. Did Prahlad Maharaj do a tit for tat to Hiranyakashipu? He didn't do any tit for tat. Hiranyakashipu gave him a lot of trouble, but at the last he asked Narasimhadev, can you forgive my father, right? Did Ambarish Maharaj did a tit for tat for Durvasa Muni? No, he said, whatever good I have done, I offer everything. Oh, Sudarshan Chakra, please don't attack Durvasa Muni. Did Dhruva did a tit for tat? Oh, that lady pushed me out of my father's lap. I'll show her now what I'll do. Mirabai did a tit for tat. Oh, I was given a poison eye. I'll just show. Oh, Haridas Thakur did a tit for tat. Oh my God, they bet me in so many marketplaces. No, devotees, the Pandavas, nobody does. Oh, Pandavas. Now, coming to that, you may say, but Mataji, Arjun did do a tit for tat. No, he didn't do a tit for tat. Arjun didn't fight with an attitude of tit for tat. He didn't want to fight. What did he say? He said, I don't want to fight. He was full of compassion. He said, I forgive them. Krishna said, no, you fight. Now, that is a different story. Why is it a different story? That's why Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita, then fighting. Because he didn't want it should be done with an attitude of tit for tat. It was like, you love them, they're part of your body, but now because they're infected, you need to cut it. Okay? Just now, see, I got just a little scratch on my, on my finger just now. I was just cooking something. See, sometimes what happens, you get some part of it is infected, Have you seen cases like that? Sometimes in the hospitals, you see so many cases. It's got so badly infected sometimes that if you don't cut it, then whole of your body gets infected. So that's why Duryodhana had to be killed, because he became so infected, with bad qualities, that if he was not killed then it was a problem. But he didn't do it because of tit for tat. He did it because it was a part of his duty, because he was infecting others, right? So sometimes, even if you love a part of your body, you need to cut it if it is having an infection. But devotees don't do it tit for tat. Now, this is not only about the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Even in 11.55 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Nirvaira sarva bhutaha. One who is friendly comes to me. One who is friendly to all comes to me. Check it, 11.55. That means we really need to work hard on this quality, being friendly with all. So we did two things, Advesha and Sarvabhutanam Maitra, loving everybody unconditionally and not being envious, non-envious of everybody. Sarvabhutanam, right? We'll go to the next qualities. Karuna. What does it mean by karuna? To have a tender heart, to have a heart which is full of compassion. You reach out to everybody, not only spiritually, materially, whatever way you can help others. So Krishna says he likes a devotee who is non-envious, who is friendly to all. And see, if you are non-envious and if you are friendly to all, definitely this will come automatically. You will have compassion for all. Karuna. You got my point? So Krishna says, one who has compassion for all, that kind of devotee I like very much, is very dear to me. So now, how should you and me become compassionate to others? Now you may say, let's say on the spiritual view, okay, I can try and whatever I've learned, I can teach others, I can help, I can preach, I can distribute Gita, that's all right. But sometimes it may not be possible to help, I can just help as much as I can. So that's all right. That's what Krishna is asking you to do. Whatever is your capacity. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. Whatever you can do, right? So not only spiritually, even materially, whatever you can do to others, whatever you can do for helping others. Now somebody may say, whether it is spiritually, materially, I'm not that qualified, or let's say I'm not that financially well-to-do. I'm not that, my situation and circumstances is not that I can help everybody. That's all right. There are so many ways you can help. If you can't help anybody materially, spiritually, you can pray for all. That everybody can do. Even if somebody is poorest of poor, can't we just close our eyes, chant Hare Krishna and pray for everybody in this world, right? Now this corona pandemic is going on. We just pray for everybody. Lord, just be nice to everybody, help everybody, let everybody in this world be healthy, fit and fine. So that we can do, and Krishna appreciates. It's not about quantity. It's not about how much you can do. Whatever little bit you do, Krishna is happy. Just like Lord Rama was so happy. Rama was so happy with the squirrel. The squirrels were simply dipping themselves in the water, rolling in the mud, and then just putting that, that mud on the bridge. It was not a very big help, frankly speaking. In fact, they were disturbing the bigger elephants because they had to walk so carefully with those big log of woods because the squirrels were coming on the way. But still, Lord Rama was so happy with the little service they performed. So it's not about, quantity. It's about quality. So, karuna, compassion. You see so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, whether it's Ranti Dev, or how much compassion he had for his citizens, whether it is Maharaj Shibi. What did Maharaj Shibi do? He cut himself, his flesh, just to save the pigeon. You know that story, right? Yeah. So we see that. That means, all these story, all these leelas we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, they're for inspiring us. These great devotees have laid down roads, examples, what Krishna likes in us, and that quality they are expressing and they're showing us by their behavior. Right, so you can pray for the world. Now, one thing, condition applies with karuna is, you don't show compassion with a condition or with some kind of a expectation. I'll be appreciated, I'll get lots of name and fame, my name will be here and there. That's not counted. It has to be done selflessly, right? So, Advesha, Sarvabhutana, Maitra, Karuna, Evacha, Nirmama. A very important point comes, Nirmama. Well, if you have Maitri for all, then anyway you become Nirmama. Maitri for some means Mama. I like this person, but this person I won't help. Then that is Mamakara. But if you are Maitri for everybody, you like everybody, then you are Nirmama. So Krishna says, I like devotees who are Nirmama. Now, Nirmama is not such a small thing. See, so many people are dying every day with coronavirus. Okay? You are reading in newspaper. Are you not? Tell me how many of you were crying after reading that. Tears came out? No. But let's say some of your relative, somebody died of corona. Tear comes out? It comes out. Not only relative, even if your father or grandfather who expired 15 years back, 20 years back, today also in the newspaper, if you have their obituary or something, a tear comes out. Why? Because we are attached to some people and we are not attached to some people, right? We are not able to be equal to all. But Krishna says, Nirmama. That means you love everybody equally. This is very serious matter. When we just go through these qualities, we feel half of our life is gone now. And half of our life is gone and half of the qualities of that 36 is not coming to us. Where do we stand, When will we get those qualities? So difficult to become Nirmama, right? So Nirmama is not being attached to one thing. Nirmama is you equally like everybody. You're not attached. You understand? It's difficult, but we need to work on that. Nirmama. See, when you have mama, then you can't be fair. Then all your actions will be tinted. Like, I'll tell you one story. There was one big jamindar in a village. He was just sitting in his shop and, relaxing. And he saw from far off, there were a couple of old people running behind a small boy and trying to hit him. So then he asked somebody, in the village, they just gossip something. What happened? Why are they hitting him? They said, no, he's a small boy. He did he stole something. So they are beating him. So he said, very nice, they should beat him up nicely. If they beat him up, then when he grows up, he won't do that again. And now they're beating him with chappal and all, and he's running. After some time, the Jamindar saw that boy is coming close to his shop, And then he realized it was his own son. Then immediately his whole analyzation and judgment changed. He said, look, you should not beat a small boy, Because if you beat him like that, he will steal more out of anger. Boys should be told with affection. Nicely you tell with affection, they won't do again. So you understand what happens. The attachment will change your, perspective of looking at things. You will just wear a different kind of a spectacles. You understand? That's why Krishna says, I like a devotee who is nirmama. When you look at everything fairly, then you'll have a different perception of looking at things. But when you are too much attached, then what happens? You see things differently, right? See, in Gujarati, there is one very nice bhajan. It says, Jagine jo to Jagat dise nahi ungh mata pata bhoga bhase. When I am awake, I can see the world correctly. But when I am sleeping, lot of imaginations. What is this sleeping in our context? When you are in Ajnana, not in knowledge, you'll see things differently. When you get knowledge, you'll see things differently, right? If you are nirmama, you can see everything fair, right? But if you are covered with attachment, not so easy to give up attachment. That is, you see the Goswamis. That's why you see those acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas. They were not even staying under a tree for more than 3 days. Because after 3 days you get attached to that tree. Though they left everything, they have to be so careful. This attachment is like that. 3 Sundays if you sit at that place, 4th Sunday if Nagesh Prabhu sits there, you will say, why is sitting in my place? I sit here, Is it not? It happens. 3 Sundays you continuously sit in that place and hear my class. 4th Sunday you will complain if somebody comes and sits. That's our nature. Forget about place in satsang. Even if you're traveling in train, you're there hardly for 4-5 hours. From Vizag to Mayapur, just one night journey. We get so attached. Number 21 is mine. All right. We were going from Haridwar to Mathura And some of the devotees that didn't join us for the yatra, and we had some empty seats, and the devotees were putting all the luggage on the seat. And I said, why are you doing that? They said, Mataji, this is our seat, we paid for it. I said, that's all right. That's all right. We're not going to take the seat home. Keep the luggage down. Allow some people to sit. Even we get attached to a seat in a train, you know. Forget about that. We are even attached to the place we sleep in the night. Am I right? Your blanket, you want your pillow, you want the side of the bed you are sleeping. I'm just trying to tell you that we think I'm not attached. You know, sometimes it happens when we hear class, we are like, okay, but I'm not attached to anything. We are attached. Every little thing we are attached to in this world. You know, we are not able to. See, it's not that for attachment you have to be a very rich man. You know, you may say, they're rich people now, they have so much property, money, they are attached. I'm just a simple man. No. Even a beggar can be attached to his begging bowl. Yeah, I'll tell you, there is a story. There was one king, you know, in the night, the kings, they go for disguise, you know, they disguise and they go around, you know, how the citizens are doing, you know. There was one king, in the middle of the night, he went and he saw everybody is sleeping, but one beggar is not sleeping. After 1 or 2 hours, he came back and he sat next to him and said, Babu, what happened, you know, why are you not sleeping? Some health problem? He said, no, I am having some tension. He said, what is your tension? You know, somebody may steal. Steal what? My begging bowl. And what was that begging bowl? You know, in India you have that dalda ghee, tin, you know, the ghee comes in tin. So the half tin dabba is broken, in that he begs, okay. He was worried that if he sleeps, somebody may steal that begging bowl, you know. Said, I'm having so much tension, I'm not able to sleep, you know. So it's not that, you know, for tension you need to have big bungalows. It's just your attitude. Ambrish Maharaj was the king of the whole world, but he had no attachment. Right? And we are worried about our begging bowl. In front of Ambrish Maharaj, all that Aishwarya we have is a begging bowl only. And we are so attached to it. What will happen to my family? What will happen to my apartment? What will happen to my jewelry? What will happen to my fixed deposit? Right? So Krishna is saying, Nirmama. So what should we do from tomorrow? Shall we just sell off our cars and apartments? No, we can keep them. But then we just keep it with a different attitude. That means we just become trustee. You know, principle of trustee. What is the principle of becoming a trustee? Trustee doesn't own anything, but everything is under the care of the trustee. That's what we do. Simple. This is not my house, but it's under my care as of now. Not my children, Krishna's children, but they're under my care right now. Not my husband. It's Krishna's part and parcel. I'm supposed to serve him. That is what my duty now. Not my wife. It's Krishna's part and parcel, but under my care, my shelter. Everything, whatever we have, money, property, under my care. It was Krishna's thing, Krishna's property, but under my care. See what happened to Sudama? When Sudama went, you know what Krishna did? Krishna was actually unfair to him. When Sudama went back home, he saw even his broken hut is not there anymore. That was the only possession he had, a broken hut. That was his. Krishna took it away. And what did Krishna do? Krishna gave him a big palace. But now when Sudama entered that big palace, it was not Sudama's house. Sudama entered with a feeling that this is Krishna's house. Now Krishna is allowing me to stay. You understand? So what Krishna did with him? What was his, Krishna took it away. Now what Krishna gave is Krishna's, but Sudama is staying there. So now when we enter into our house today after this Sunday program, we enter the house, this is Krishna's house, it's under my care. That way, a devotee can become Nirmama. So, Adveshta Sarvabhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmama. Nirmama Nirahankara. Well, if everything belongs to Krishna, then why will you get Ahankar? Ahankar is coming because you think it is yours. The moment you think it's not yours, then there is no Ahankar. Right? Then you automatically will become Ahankara. So Nirmama, Nirahankara. You know, when the my increases, then the I starts itching. You know, I. You know, because your my has increased. What is your my? When the Aishwarya increases, you know, then all that I-ness, you know, that will increase. I'll tell you one very interesting thing. I was just reading the other day one very beautiful commentary. You know, one Vaishnava Acharya was saying that when Shri Mada increases, Mada means Ahankar and Shri means wealth. So he says, when the Shri Mada increases, the wealth increases, it is so dangerous for the devotees that even great devotees, okay, even great devotees, pure devotees also, hear carefully, okay, don't give me that look, but yeah, I'll justify it. Even pure devotees may end up breaking the 4 rules and regulation. And that Acharya gave a proof of it. He said Dasharath Maharaj, who is the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he also broke one of the 4 rules and regulation. Now, the 4 rules and regulations are no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. Is it not? Now, no meat eating doesn't mean that it's not only about not eating meat. No meat eating means you don't hurt somebody, you don't kill somebody. But Dasharath Maharaj killed somebody. Who was that? He killed Shravan Kumar. Did he kill or he didn't kill? He killed. One rule and regulation broken, done. One regulation is broken. Second thing, no meat eating over, no intoxication. What happened to Nala Kuver and Manigriva? They were intoxicated, though they were sons of Kuvera. What did they end up doing? Intoxication. As a result, cursed by Narad Muni. As a result, became a tree. Alright? Second rule broken. Third, illicit sex. What happened to Ravan? Ravan was so scholarly. Even today you go to Prayag, you ask Ravana Bhashya on Rigveda, they will give it to you. Such a great person writing such great commentaries. But what did Ravan do? Always behind other men's wife. He was trying to kidnap the Jagat Mata. So he also broke a rule and regulation. Now, no intoxication, no meat eating, no illicit sex, and no gambling. What did the Pandavas do? They involved in gambling. Did they break the rule and regulation? They broke it, right? Devotees are not supposed to involve themselves in gambling. Pandavas were the pure devotees of Lord. So what happened? Shri Mada. The wealth increases. There are always tendency to break 4 rules and regulation. Got my point? Yeah. So that is why one has to be very, very careful. Nirmama nirahankara. If you think it is yours, then ahankar comes. If you think it is Krishna's, then ahankar doesn't come. Now, some devotees ask me this question always. Mataji, if we think this is not mine, this is Krishna's, how will you get that utsaha? How will you get that spirit, that competitive spirit, to work hard? If I think this is my house, I'll work hard. If I think this is my wife, I'll take care of her. Why should I take care of everybody? If I think they are my children, I'll work for them. No. The utsaha will increase more if you think it is Krishna's. For example, today you come home, okay, you work in steel plant. Today you come home with an important file from your boss. What you will do with Tulsiram? You will say, Tulsiram, don't touch my file. That is boss file. If it's my file, you touch, that's all right. Right? If this is my phone, you break, it's all right. This phone Mataji gave me, it's very important. Don't break. This file is my boss. This car is my boss. Don't touch. So you become more more protective. You are more careful. You are more disciplined. Is it not? When you come to the temple, you become more disciplined. You want more neat and clean. House means no problem. Something you can throw on the floor. Temple, how can I throw? This is temple. This is what will happen. If you think in your life everything belongs to Krishna, you will become more determined. You will be more careful. You understand? So yes, you can be nirmama, nirahankara. Nirahankara is possible only when you increase your knowledge. If you increase the knowledge of Shastra, then you will automatically become Nirahankara. I'll tell you, in the childhood, I once went to Agra. You've seen Taj Mahal? I remember, I was just in class, grade 7 or something, and the photographer said, you stand like this, with your hand like this. And he will make a photography in such a way, I will feel as if the Taj Mahal is inside my 2 fingers. I'm sure many of you must have taken like those photographs in your childhood. So I was very excited about it, Taj Mahal in my 2 fingers. But then when I walked as close and close to Taj Mahal, I was like, wow, this is so huge. It can never come into my 2 fingers. You got my point? So now when I went close by, when I got the knowledge, the reverence increased. Now what is happening? We think we are very great, right? But when we read scriptures, we all know God is great, but we don't know how great is God. So when we understand how great Krishna is, how many universes come out from his breathing simply, how many Brahmas are there in this world, if you hear the whole Aishwarya of Krishna, then you will not feel so great about your 2-bedroom flat in Maddalapalam in Vishakhapatnam. What's the big thing about that? You will not feel anything great about it if you understand the Aishwarya of Krishna. Otherwise you will think, I don't live in rented house. I have my own house. What is that own house? You understand? You understand what I'm trying to say? It's making sense what I'm saying? Yeah. So, Nirmama, Nirankara. When you increase knowledge, then, you'll automatically have no ahankar, right? So, we'll, another 2-3 points and then we'll stop it here because they asked me to speak for an hour. So, we will complete in another 10 minutes and then I'll continue with the Vizag congregation, okay? So, next point is Sama Dukkha Sukha Shami. Sama Dukkha. Sama Dukkha, a devotee, Krishna says, I like that kind of a devotee who is equipoised in dukkha, in situations, bad situations and happy situations, sad and happy situations. Now, somebody may say, how is that possible? When I'm happy, okay, I'll try to control my emotions. But when I'm sad, how can you become equipoised? So here the scripture says, yes, you can become equipoised if you think that it is Krishna's arrangement. It is Krishna's arrangement. See, I'll tell you here also the connection with Krishna. Kindly switch off your cell phone. Here also connection to Krishna is very important. If you are connected to Krishna, then you can be equipoised in all situations. See, I'll tell you, when you walk around, on the street, you can see so many buildings. You can make out the difference. This is having 2 floors plus ground floor. This is having 15 floors. This is having 22 floors. You can make out the difference. But if you are in a helicopter and you are watching all those buildings, can you make a difference? No, everything seems same. That means when you go higher, then everything becomes same. That means when you are high in Krishna consciousness, when you are in higher consciousness, then you can become sama in dukkha and sukha. See, when it is raining, if you are in the ground floor, it's very irritating because the water comes inside your house and everything is so dirty. But when it's raining and you are on the 15th floor, then you can happily have some vedi mirchi pakoda, garam pakoda, hot pakoda, if you are on the 15th floor. Why? Because you are high. You can just enjoy the rain. If you are down, you get affected. If you are in low consciousness, everything is going to affect you. Dukkha, sukha. When you become high in Krishna consciousness, now what does it mean by high is one question. Okay, be high in Krishna consciousness. So what does that mean, being high in Krishna consciousness? Being high in Krishna consciousness means, basically, you see things in a bigger picture. Got my point? Let's say, if you're going to spend today whole day in the temple, and I just tell you, Nagesh Prabhu, can you switch off the fan for 10 minutes? And you are sweating and you are very unhappy. But I just told you 10 minutes. After that, you can have fan. Before that also, you had fan. Now, is that 10 minutes very sorrowful for you? No, because you are in anticipation, just a matter of 10 minutes. After that, I can put the fan on. Am I right? It's making sense? That's all. When you see the bigger picture, you were born before, previously, and you went through all this, and you'll be born again, and this is all passing phase, nothing stays constant, this is just one part of your life, you've taken births hundreds and millions of times before. When you see everything in a bigger picture, that's why many times I tell in my classes, the biggest challenge is to keep the biggest challenge as the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge for us to go back to Krishna. And if we can keep this biggest challenge as our biggest challenge, then there is no issue. The problem is we're just bringing small petty things in between and making a mess of our life. You got my point? Yeah? Many times I gave you this example. For the first time I was traveling in the train alone with my little baby. Now that little baby has become a 21-year-old law student, my elder son. But when he was a little baby, so I was traveling with him from Puri to Bhubaneswar, and that was a crowded train, and I was suffering. It was so bad experience, I still remember. But every moment that I was suffering, that 3-4 hours ride, it was okay because I knew that when I get down at Bhubaneswar, my husband will be waiting for me and then he'll take me, to Puri or whatever we were planning to go. Because I knew it's temporary and I knew I'm going to get down and I knew somebody who loves me is waiting for me at this station. That's about it. If we know Krishna loves us and if we know this is temporary and if we know when we get down from the train, Krishna will be waiting for us, then the whole journey will become It's okay. There will be a little trouble, but then it's okay because the end is going to be okay. You are able to understand? That's why devotees can be sama dukkha, sukha shami. Because they know, just like in India, whenever there is something wrong, in India we have a habit. Iske piche Pakistan ka haath hai. Something Pakistan has done, For everything we blame Pakistan. Like that, devotees for everything they blame Krishna. Iske piche Krishna ka haath hai. Krishna has something to do with this, what has happened in my life. And the good point is, Krishna is my well-wisher. Krishna is my well-wisher. And that's why devotee is not worried. Yeah, so devotee can be sama and dukkha, sukha, shami. Next point is shami. Shami, the last point, forgive. Krishna says, I like a devotee who forgives everybody. Now this is like, oh, Mataji, this is too lofty. Forgive, how can we forgive everybody? You don't know, sometimes there are so many kinds of situations in our life, but Krishna says he likes devotees who are shami, forgive. So how can you forgive? Yeah, this is a way to forgive. If you think Krishna is behind everything, then you can forgive easily. If you think this devotee is behind, then you may get angry on him. But if you know the ultimate cause is Krishna, the ultimate sanction is of Krishna, and Krishna is my well-wisher. If you think that devotee is also part and parcel of Krishna, if you think we are all part of one family, then you can definitely forgive. See, sometimes, while you are eating, does it happen with you? With me, many times it happens because I'm on the phone, sometimes, while I'm just eating, sometimes the teeth bites the tongue. Does it happen with you? Your own teeth will bite the tongue. So what do? Do you get angry, take a hammer and say, just now I'll teach you a lesson, remove all the teeth from my mouth. How dare you bite my tongue? No, Mataji, how can we do that? The tongue is mine and the teeth is mine. Same thing you should think about other devotees. He's also Krishna's part and parcel, and I am also Krishna's part and parcel. How can I punish him? So that way we can forgive if we think we are all part and parcel of Krishna. How many times should we forgive that devotee? 3 times I can forgive Mataji. After that I can't. Krishna also forgives Shishupal for 100 times. After that he didn't know. Just like, sometimes, with your own hand you will touch your eyes, but you forgive your hand. Like that we have to forgive everybody. That is one quality Krishna likes, Shami. So if all these qualities, we can develop in us, Krishna will be so happy. He'll be so happy with us. A devotee should learn to be choiceless. Just accept situations in life as they come. Many times I give this example. When we were young, when we used to travel with our parents, every Sunday most of the Sundays we used to go to one park in Hyderabad, I don't remember the name now, some Sanjeev Park, Indira Park, something. Those days we didn't have DVD players and CD players, So whatever song comes on radio, and cassettes were there, but we used to happily hum them. Some R.D. Burman song comes, we used to hum it. Some other song comes, we used to hum it. But nowadays, what happens, because there are so many choice, mother will say, I want to hear Hindustani vocal, father will say, I want to hear rap, children will say, I want to hear this. You go on arguing when you are sitting in the car, by the time destination comes. Does it happen? Of course, now that problem has reduced because everybody has their own cell phone. That they don't fight anymore, everybody hears their own thing. But the whole point I'm trying to make is, just take things as they come. Life is not what we plan, life is what happens. And if we can take it as it is, and we should always be conscious, after day comes night and after night comes day. You can't stop the sun, don't go, I don't want night, and you can't stop the moon, don't go, I don't want morning. That means when you are happy, understand that misery may be just knocking the door. And when you are in a miserable condition, just know that maybe happiness is just knocking the door. So everything is a passing phase. So don't become too happy when you are in good situation, and don't become too sad when you are in a miserable condition, because everything will pass away. Like in our childhood, our favorite game was, we used to play Antakshari. Antakshari? Whenever the teacher don't come, in the class, we just play Antakshari. So the game goes like, you sing a song, and at the end there is one letter. With that letter, the opposing party has to sing a song. Then after they sing the song, whatever the end letter comes, then we have to sing. And the game goes that way. And I tell you, whatever letter comes, you have to sing. You can't complain. I don't want to sing with K. I want to sing with M. You don't complain. If K comes, you sing with K. Now you may say, but I want to sing with M. That's all right. When M comes, you'll sing with M. But now K has come, you sing with K. This is the philosophy of life. Now this is a situation. Go ahead with it. When some good situation will come, then you can enjoy. Sometimes sad, sometimes good. It'll go on. It's like a giant wheel, giant wheel. Children play in the giant wheel. Sometimes you go high up, like the wheel of London. Sometimes you go down, sometimes you go up. But those who are up, they know they are going to go down. And those who are down, they know for sure they're going to go up. And this is how life is. And if we understand that, then we can become Sama, Dukkha, Sukha, and Shami. We can forgive. So I don't want to go more. I think I already went over time. So this is how it is. And of course, there are 36 qualities. And I think we just completed maybe 7 of them. So, these are the qualities. Of course, they're so high in value when we hear them. And sometimes we may just feel apprehensive. Is it really possible, to come to that stage? But then, as I just said in the beginning of this session, if you want to be a best friend and a very dear friend or very dear to somebody so VIP, a very, very important, famous person, I know Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you really have to, come to his level, his standard, to be in his diary of, his dear devotees, right? It's a little difficult, but he's also very special. We're not trying to make friendship with some ordinary person. We want to be dear of Krishna, and for that we have to work a little hard. So we don't want to be Krishna's Karuna Patra. That means it's not that Krishna has mercy on us and he just, accepts us. We want to be Krishna's Priya Patra, means beloved. We want to be Krishna's dear, and for that we have to make a little more endeavor. So we'll close it here for today for the devotees online, and I'll just open them up. And over to you, Mataji. Hi, Krishna.
Thank you so much for enlightening us with the practical things, putting the use case for all of us to practice.
Wonderful. So there is one question online. So Mataji is asking that this seems to be very high. So where do we start from? See, it's like this, sometimes when you're walking on the road, let's say there are no street lights, everything is very dark, then what do? You just don't sit there thinking that, oh, there's no lights, what do I do? You just take out a small pocket torch and you start walking, whatever little bit you can see with the torch light, till the street lights come up. So that's how our journey is. We may not be at a time, come up to that level, but we can start with our pocket torch, and whatever little bit we can, start doing. See, at least now we know our goal, is it not? Like by reminding ourselves and by reading these slokas from Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, Bhaktashtakam, at least we are reminding ourselves where are we and where do we need to go. At least we're able to, set some standards. At least we are better. Imagine, in a hospital there are 2 kinds of patients. One patient is like, he doesn't even know what disease he's suffering from. And there is one patient who knows what disease he's suffering from, and he knows that he's getting treatment done. Maybe the treatment is as of now not very effective, but he knows at least he's in the process, and one fine day he'll get cured. So it's all about, at least we know where do we need to go. So like we know now these 36 qualities that Krishna expects from us, and now we can just, write it down somewhere, like in my quarters where I stay, in the kitchen, on the tiles I have written these slokas, all the 8 slokas of Bhaktashtakam. I like it. Whenever I'm cooking, I just look at that. So wherever, in your laptop, in your computer, in your cooking space, in your drawing room, you can just have them so you know what is your goal, Yeah, we may be somewhere, but at least, we are in the right place, and we just take one step at a time, and we just start. Even if we are conscious of it, okay, this is what we need to do, it helps a lot. Yeah, it helps a lot.
Myself. Like maybe I'm not aware that I am doing something wrong, but the other person knows that, there's something that I have tried or I'm embarrassing. So should that other devotee approach me and help me? Or just stay quiet and accept me as I am?
Okay. So when Mataji is asking one very interesting question, it will be interesting to all of you also. She's saying that what if you see some fault in some devotee? So do you go and tell him about that fault? Or let's say you see some pride in some devotee. So do you go and tell him? Or the same way, other way around? Should that devotee come and tell you? That way you just help each other. So is it okay? And if it is okay, then how do you do it without making an offense? So it's like that. My take on this is, you know, when you connect your laptop to the projector screen, what comes on the projector screen? Sukrut, tell me, what comes on the projector screen, Sukrut? Just a simple question I'm asking. When I connect my laptop to the projector, what comes on the projector screen? Very simple, whatever is there on the laptop. No, I think there is some technical problem. This was not there on my laptop, but it is still coming on projector screen. Is it possible, Sukrut? It's impossible. No? You will say, Mataji, the projector has nothing which can, unless and until there is some data coming from laptop. Now, I'll tell you, whenever we see a fault in somebody, that means that fault is there in us. Otherwise, you can't see that fault. Believe me, you can't see that fault, because whatever is there in your laptop, only that will be projected on the screen. If that is not fed in your laptop, you can't see it. So, most of the time, if that fault is not there in you, you can't see that fault in that devotee, even if the devotee has that fault. You will end up giving some benefit of doubt. Let's say somebody did something wrong. You'll think, Arey, pata nahi hoga. Maybe that he doesn't know maybe that it was kept here. Maybe he doesn't know that he's not supposed to. Why? Because it's not there in you, that fault. So you will, it's like, if you're wearing a red color spectacles, you will see everything red. It is as simple as that. If you wear a green color spectacles, you see everything green. If we have that fault, then only we can see that fault in other devotees. Otherwise, it's very difficult to see that fault in others. So, the moment we see that fault in others, we should become, okay, very, very good. That means this fault is there in me, and start checking inside. Oh, that means I have that nature. Oh, that means I do it. And we start checking. Now, coming of telling others their fault, the moment some devotee tells others their fault, that means that devotee is having a really, really big heart. Otherwise, who is going to do that? I wouldn't do that. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go and tell anybody. You really need to have a big heart to do that, because you really don't want to offend anybody. You're so worried. You're so afraid. Because we're all in a hurry, is it not? Like, we need to get out from this place, right? We have to go back to Goloka Vrindavan, and there are hundreds of things that we have to do. So now telling other devotees, this is your fault, where is the time, Unless and until you are in management. You are in management, then that is a part of your duty. You have to tell others, and you have to, sit and work on it, But otherwise, one should be busy with one's own life, and, because we are in such a hurry. Even if somebody coming and telling us also, I don't know. See, it's our life is like this, The house is burning. You understand, Raghuvamshi, what I'm saying? The house is burning. There is a small hole in the ceiling. You have taken a ladder. Now what you will do? Take a ladder, you just want to get out. What you will be doing at that moment? You are in a hurry to get out, right? And at that moment, if your wife says, hey Raghuvamshi, why you wore a blue t-shirt, yellow t-shirt would have looked nice on you. What you will say? Really, I'll just come down. Shall I change the t-shirt? You will say, don't talk about t-shirt. I need to get out from this place. That is what, our situation is like that. We are in a hurry, Already we are suffering with so many our own problems, and we need to, and then this 36 qualities on the top of all, when will we get these qualities, and then when will we get away from enviousness, and then we have our sevas, and then we have our sadhana, and then chanting. We are already so much busy, and then we have to read Bhagavatam, and then in between Purushottam month comes, and then Damodar month comes, and then Marathon month comes. There are so many things to do, in between. Who even has the time? And if somebody has the time, we should be really grateful to those devotees. What to speak about offense? What is there to take offense? Just be grateful. If somebody just comes and tells you, give them a hug. Thank you. Who's going to tell me? Who's going to be my well-wisher in this world who will come and tell me, look, Mataji, you're going wrong there. Just give them a hug. Thank you so much for coming in my life, and telling me where I'm going wrong. Who's going to do that? You're so kind, This is the attitude where we accept it. In the moment when we see others' faults, unless and until, you don't know how that devotee is going to take it. So, see, this is not something which I think I can't complete in 2 lines. I'm just trying to say something from, on the top of my head, but there can be a whole class on this, like how do you go to people and let them know where they're erring, in case if you have to. If you have to, because you want to help them genuinely, and how do you take it, how do you look at it, there's a whole class on that, what are the steps, what you can do. I don't want to get into this just now, but Yeah, this is one thing. So if somebody is telling you a fall, just be happy, thank them. And as far as you telling it, just if you have to tell it, if you are in management, you want to help that person, even if you're not in management and you really want to be kind and help them, just make sure that you're not, offensive. Do it very humbly if you have to. Otherwise, I would just say, be a little selfish and just get going. There's lots of things to do. I just hope I'm making some sense.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. Right.
What is the time?
Yeah, just one more question and then we'll start Sandhya Aarti. We'll be starting Sandhya Aarti just now. Just one more question, just any one question. Okay, so this is the last question of our session today. So, very interesting question. How many of you are facing that problem? You like to hear Krishna Katha, but you don't like to do service. Anybody here facing that problem? See, all are laughing, huh? Yeah? I think all of us have this problem. We like to hear, it's very interesting, but when it comes practically to do service, we don't want to do. Why we don't want to do? Because we don't want to come out of our comfort zone, right? It is for everybody, right? See, I'll tell you, when a child is young, when the child changes food, I remember with both my sons, in the beginning they were drinking milk, and then afterwards I started some baby food, Cerelac, and after that I started some rice crushed with some dal and all. And that transition was so difficult because when I shifted from milk to baby food, they were almost vomiting all the time. They want milk. Then when I shifted to rice and dal, they were vomiting. They didn't want to eat it. But believe me, I didn't give up. I kept on trying. I never thought, it's all right, why to force him, let him eat baby food whole life. No, I didn't give up. I kept on trying till they developed the taste. And now both my children eat normal food. They don't take baby food anymore because now they develop the taste. Now if I tell them don't eat, why not you eat Cerelac, they won't eat Cerelac. Now they have developed the taste to eat rice and dal, right? So I think that happens in everybody's life, like I told you in the beginning of the class. First is attraction. You like it. Oh, it's so nice to hear Bhagavatam class. It's very nice. That's the first stage in everybody's life. After that attraction, you'll come to the second stage, affection. You like it, but you also want to do something. You like it a little more than other things. And then you will come to a stage of joy. You like it more than anything. You don't want to miss it. You want to serve Krishna. You want to serve Guru. And then you come to a stage where you are surrendered. You just want to do nothing but surrender to Guru and Krishna. So it is a gradual process. It will happen. Everybody passes through this stage. And it will happen in your life also. It's just that you take more association of devotees and hear more classes which inspire you. Because these classes are like that, they motivate you. For some time, it's like in our childhood, there used to be one advertisement. Glucon-D is there. You have ye jaan mein jaan dal de peete hi. They will show a small boy who is like tired, and then he puts some Glucon-D and he starts running. He gets so energetic. Yeah. So our Glucon-D is Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't want to do service. Just hear Bhagavatam, read Bhagavatam, take Krishna Prasad, associate with devotees. And hear more classes, and then you will feel energetic to do seva. And then after some time, again that the effect of Glucon-D, the effect of Bhagavatam will go down. Again you hear. That's why you do Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We keep on hearing, and keep on feeling inspired. Keep on taking association of devotees, because when we hear, then the anarthas get clean. See, the whole problem is the heart, right? The chitta. It is having lots of rust and dust, which is not allowing us to work, and that has to be clean. And the broom and the stick is Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting. So whether you like it or you don't like it. Just like now, because of the corona, whether we like it or we don't like it, we are taking ginger every day, turmeric every day, tulsi, whatever, the kasayam, and so many things we are for increasing the immunity, whether you like it or you don't like it. So this is like that. We need to increase our immunity to Maya, So yeah, you just keep associating, and whether you like it or you don't like it, you do it. See, it's like this. There are two kinds of marriage. One is a love marriage and one is an arranged marriage. Love marriage is you love the person and then you get married. Arranged marriage is you marry the person and then you fall in love with the person. So it's both, it works same way, right? So either you have love for Krishna's service spontaneously, great. If you don't have it, it's an arranged marriage. Do it, whether you like it or you don't like it, and you will develop a taste for it. Like you see this famous example of Srila Prabhupada. When I think it was Brahmananda Prabhu or Garga Muni, I'm forgetting now, he told very frankly to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, everybody is paying obeisances to you, but I don't get that feeling from inside, to pay obeisances to you. So shall I just wait, when I get that feeling, I'm just acting now. When I get that feeling, I'll pay obeisances. Prabhupada said, feeling or no feeling, do it every day. You will get it. Come on, bow down. You will get it. So like that, it may not come, for us, the kind of conditioned souls that we are, maybe it will never come for us spontaneously. We'll have to do it forcibly for some time. But at least we know that this is the goal of our life. So let's work in that direction and keep doing. Have good mentors around you. I'm forgetting the name of that blind man. I think it was Eric Wickman. I'm just forgetting he was a blind man and he climbed the Mount Everest. Okay. I think it was Eric Wickman. I'm just forgetting the name. And then in the interview, they asked him, you are a blind man. How did you climb the Mount Everest? So he gave a very good answer. He said, my backup team, for whom I depend, they are very strong. Because he's a blind man, right? He can't see. So what they do is, they put a rope on him and the other two members are up there and they slowly pull him up, and that is how he goes up. So we are also more or less like that. So we need to have a great backup team, So we need to be surrounded by good devotees, sweet mentors who can just guide us all the time when we go, a little low in our Krishna consciousness, and then they'll keep motivating us. Because in Krishna consciousness, we are little babies. We still need help, somebody to hold our hand and make us walk till we can walk by ourselves. So we can just take hand and keep walking. And yeah, one day we will develop the taste and we will do this service enthusiastically. Like that Vaishnava bhajans, what is that? Kabe hobe bolo sedina amar, kabe hobe bolo sedina amar. Oh, when will that day come? Yeah, that day will come. Just need to associate with the devotees and that day will come when you will spontaneously love Krishna. Right? When you will spontaneously get attracted to Krishna's service. But till that time, do it forcibly. I just hope it helped you, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, shall we end the session here? Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. So we'll end the class here.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dandavats. Vancha kalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhayeva cha. पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्ण.
सब कृष्णा 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 लगे, सब कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्णा